Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really different way of thinking about learning. One that says, hey, maybe the best education doesn't happen at a desk at all, but right in the middle of life itself.
And this quote, wow, it really gets right to the heart of the critique, doesn't it? The whole argument is that our school system, the one we're all familiar with, wasn't actually designed to find what makes a child special. It was built for something else entirely, for the industrial age, to create a workforce that was, well, compliant and efficient.
So that really makes you think, right? If the main goal isn't just to churn out workers, then what is education for? What could it be? Let's dig into an alternative that takes learning out of the classroom and into the real world. We'll start by looking at the core problem this whole idea is trying to fix.
Okay, so the core idea here is that there's this huge clash, this fundamental disconnect between how schools are set up and, what it's actually like to be a kid.
I mean, just look at this mismatch. On one hand, you've got the system, and it wants, what? Compliance, memorization, fill in the bubble with the one right answer. But then you have a child, and what are they all about? Curiosity, play, asking why a million times. You can see how those two things are just not on the same page at all.
And what happens because of that clash? You get this huge gap between what's learned in school and, well, real life. A kid might be able to ace a test and define a word like psychology, but they can't connect it to the actual people around them. That knowledge just gets stuck on the page. It doesn't come to life.
So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the alternative we're looking at today is a mindset shift called real education.
And listen, this is not about just trading one textbook for another. It's a completely different way of seeing things. Learning isn't something you schedule from 9 to 10 a.m. It's organic. It happens when a child actually needs to know something or gets genuinely curious about something, right then and there.
And this totally changes the game for parents. Your role shifts. You're not a teacher standing at a blackboard anymore. You become an observer, a partner in conversation, someone who helps find the right tools. But the biggest part, the absolute hardest but most crucial step, you have to trust. Trust that your child is naturally built to learn.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds nice in theory, but what does it actually look like? How does this work in the real world, day to day? Let's jump into some actual examples.
All right, first up, science. In this world, science isn't just a subject in a textbook. It's an investigation. It's a hands-on process that kicks off with a real question, usually one that comes directly from the kid.
So think about this. A kid is by a puddle. They drop a leaf in the water, and it floats. Then they drop a stone, and it sinks. To us, it just looks like they're playing, right? But what's really happening is kind of miraculous. They're being a little physicist. They are conducting a real experiment. And in that moment, their brain is literally building the pathways to understand incredibly complex ideas like density and buoyancy. That's a foundation you just can't get from memorizing a definition.
And it's the exact same idea with math. Forget about endless worksheets and memorizing times tables out of context. Here, numbers become what they're supposed to be. Tools. Tools you use to solve real problems that actually matter to you.
For example, you could ask a kid for 15 candies, and they might just stare at you blankly. The number is abstract. But ask that same child to get one apple for each of the 5 people in the family, and suddenly, 5 means something. It's connected to real people, to a real task. They're learning about quality and fairness all at once. Math now has a purpose. It's not just a number on a page.
And this way of thinking goes way beyond just science and math. It's about character, too. Think about big, abstract ideas like self-control. You can't just lecture a kid into having it. It has to be learned through real life, through conversation.
Here's another one of those incredible examples. Imagine a child gets angry and hits. Instead of just a timeout, a parent might talk about fasting. Now, the child knows what fasting with food is, so the parent introduces a new idea, a fast of the hands. It means choosing not to hit, just like you choose not to eat. I mean, how brilliant is that? You're taking this huge spiritual concept and making it totally understandable for a little kid. That conversation builds real emotional intelligence. And for a parent, turning a tough moment like that into a genuine teaching opportunity, that's where the real satisfaction is. It's way more powerful than just giving a command.
Okay, so at this point, there's always a big but that comes up. It's the question that pretty much every parent asks when they hear about this stuff. Yeah, but how will they succeed in life without grades, without a degree? And that's a fair question. To answer it, you basically have to throw out the old yardstick we've all been using and completely rethink what it even means to be successful.
See, in this way of thinking, success isn't about getting an A on a test. It's about building these incredible internal qualities, things like emotional intelligence, real motivation that comes from within, the ability to look at a problem in the real world and actually figure it out, a curiosity that doesn't just die out after school's over. These are the things that prepare you for life, not just for the next exam.
And this is a huge shift. It completely reframes what childhood is all about. The point isn't to just spend 18 years preparing for some far-off future. The point is to feel happy and capable and successful in your life today, right now.
So, that leaves us with one last thing to think about. What if the greatest lesson we can possibly teach our kids isn't on any syllabus at all? What if it's something bigger, something that can't be graded but is absolutely essential for a life well lived? Thanks for joining me.